Oh, one thing I wanted to add in, and that was two things actually. I'll have to try to remember. Not particularly good at this, but I'll try to remember to put this in the notes or the notes of the description of this video. But in case I forget to do that, I need to get in there that the tutorial video that I was watching on YouTube is on the channel Totally Tabled and is presented evidently by a gentleman by the name of Shaggy. Yes, you see, Shaggy. So he was doing a splendid job. And that was the first thing. And then the second thing was, let's see. Yes, what was it? Oh, that's right, yes. Had to jolly well... all right, let me check one thing. Yeah, that was it. If I do indeed decide to use those two soldiers to man the artillery, one thing to consider is, again, did we do it? I think we did it once, way back, several days ago, as it were, in the simulation, is to fire on the airfield, because you can do some pretty significant stuff if, let's see, hang on a second, camera work. Boing! There we go. You can do some pretty significant stuff, as you can see, by firing on the airfield. I can't remember the details, and I'm going to go and have my dinner. All right, we just concluded day 9, and we're about to begin day 10. And, things are deteriorating rapidly. Yes. So let's see, we're starting out the day with only 3 supplies, which is not a good place to be. But the main talk of the town is what's going on in the infirmary. We've got 3 badly wounded people in the waiting area. And in the infirmary itself, we've got 2 soldiers and a volunteer who are pretty close to death's door. But as far as you can see, you can't actually die in the infirmary. There's no way to sort of go from the infirmary to the morgue. As far as I can see, that's categorically not the case. And something did come up. There was a card that said that you had to move... It was an event card, I believe it was, that said that move all patients in the infirmary 1 level down. And I had somebody in this position, let's see, I had somebody in that position, so 1 level down for them would have been, well, there's nowhere to go, but I could not find anywhere in the rules that it would say that they would move back to the waiting area, for example, or into the morgue. No, nothing along those lines. So what I did was I didn't move it. As far as I could see, that's something that needs to be explained better. As I said before, there do seem to be cases with the cards. Now, this may have been answered in FAQs. You know, it might be already there on Board Game Geek or something like that. But I haven't gone through all that lot. I think I do have an FAQ sheet, but I don't have it printed off in front of me. But no, from time to time, what happens, the biggest problem I'm having is from time to time, you'll look at something on a card, and like I say, it's highly symbolic. They're using sort of icons and little images, this sort of thing. And as I said before, I've got a PDF, which is searchable. So then I do a search for either that statement or something close to it in the rules, and I find nothing. So what, of course, a lot of games do is they will have, sometimes for the entire deck of cards, each card will be numbered, and they'll have, in the last few pages of the rule book, they'll have a list of all the cards, and they'll go into great detail what each individual card means and how to execute it. And then it's definitely not the case here. So I have been sort of banging my head a little bit, trying to figure out what to do in some of the circumstances. But anyway, still having enormous fun. Marvellous. But yes, my good gracious me, things are disintegrating. So we've got a lot of people here in the infirmary. Now, a key thing, I thought I'd almost lost the game, because if you have 4 people in the waiting area, then you get this here. You get you have to push the surrender marker up 1, and because this was the first turn where I was unable to use the officer to inspire and help push the morale track up, instead he was helping man the artillery. I concluded that was a better use of his time. We were short-handed, so man the artillery. That didn't happen, and so what happened was this went all the way down to 3 here, -3. It was a red day, and there were defenders in the waiting area. Okay, went all the way down to 3. So we draw 4 low morale cards and resolve 3. And sure enough, the low morale cards are really, really nasty. And all kinds of unsavory things happen. I don't remember the details. Exciting times were happening over there on the old map board, because there were 3 enemy pieces that were removed, and we'll come to that. So let's take a quick look as we go down the numbers. Yes, so some German, let's see, airborne and artillery action hit us badly at the walls, and 2 of them were damaged. And as far as I can see, if they're damaged, you can't put soldiers on them until presumably you repair them. And also, when they're damaged, those markers went on top of soldiers who themselves who became injured and ended up in the infirmary. So very nasty business there. So that was the incoming fire. And let's see, these chaps sort of shuffled forward, and they basically haven't been a heck of a threat. I mean, there are an awful lot of them there now, but we've never had a grenade thrown at us, and we've only ever had one situation where one of them actually got to the charge box and did some damage. Apart from that, no, it's been pretty manageable down in this neck of the woods. But then again, I have prioritized that. I've always had 4 chaps up here. In the last go, I only had 2 chaps, as you can see, and they did use the machine gun, which is now jammed. Ho, ho, ho. Marvellous. And, of course, it can't be repaired now because I didn't have anybody in the repair section. I couldn't afford it. So now the machine gun's out of action. Could be repaired, but the chance to fire it comes first, so there's not going to be any machine guns going down this way. Okay. Let's see, what else did we have? Let's go through the numbers, I suppose. So, had a little bit of fire at the Germans. Then we got the artillery. That was very productive. Sure enough, did we have 2 jams? We did. We had 2 jams here. And over there, what they did was they removed a patrol and an artillery piece. In removing the artillery piece, you put it over here, and that reduces then the number of tiles you're going to take from the hit bag that represents the incoming airborne and artillery muck and rubbish that's falling on you. So that's a pretty important thing to do if you can. And also, of course, it gets it off the map, which means that your people can walk through the space it occupied. So we got off 1 artillery, 1 patrol, and then also a soldier unit, got rid of a patrol. And the reason for doing that was so that this chappie here could come back. Unfortunately, he couldn't get far enough because it wasn't clear weather. So he went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and got to there. Okay. And then the other thing that we were able to do was, that's right, we had a hunter unit that we were able to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and get him up to there because we had cleared the way, we cleared the path. Subsequently, as we can see, 2 patrols have shown up there, which is the one space that he would have to traverse if he wanted to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and home like that. So I suppose if the weather is clear in the upcoming turn, he could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and come home that way, but that's only going to work if the weather is clear. And it's very important to do that because that is the only way we have of getting supplies. It's too late to get any more supplies for the rest of the game, as far as I can see. So if he did that, he's not bringing in supplies from there. He's bringing in, what is that, a hit marker? A miss marker, I'm sorry, you had to go in the hit bag. Okay, So he would coming back. Everyone who comes back automatically shows up with 2 supplies. So that's going to be essential. Yes, very grim, very grim. What else? So that was, we talked about artillery, we talked about the supply run, soldiers moving around, getting shot, ending up in the infirmary. Maintenance, we shoveled snow. Okay, that's fine. All we found was gun number 2, but gun number 2 has got 3 damaged sections on it. So that's going to take a lot of work to get working, really. Let's see here. How's that work? Hang on a minute. Yes. Right, fair enough. And then there was nothing else there. And then we had the infirmary. We had put 2 medics in there, and I think we put 2 other people in there as well, because we had a lot to do to be able to, because things were stacking up in the waiting area. We had to get people over here, so we managed to get two people over there. That's right. I think he was already there, and he moved up 1. He wasn't a 10. Yeah. We got 2 fresh people in there, or 2 people from the waiting area. But yes. What was I going to say? That's right. Yeah, if in the surrender phase, which normally, hasn't, we don't have to worry about that. Things aren't that bad yet, but we are a whisker away, because if there had been 4 people there when we went to the surrender phase, we looked at that, and if we got 4 or more defenders in the waiting area, because one of the cards or whatever it was bumped up this to surrender to that point there. So that was previously during the turn. So because of these stacking up here, if there had been 4 of them, we would have bumped that up 1 more, because there were 4 or more defenders in the waiting area, and that would have led to an immediate end of the game with unconditional surrender. So I was a bit shocked when I started looking at that. I thought, oh my God, I've lost. But no, we're still hanging on by a whisker. Yes. So, and you can lower this. You can lower this by firing at the airfield, you see. And again, that sort of thing, gosh, that needs, that's begging for a bit of flavor text there, sort of like, if you fire at the airfield, you'll move the surrender marker down by 1. It's a bit dry, isn't it? So it'd be nice, sort of like, oh, you've affected airborne operations, and subsequently, this sort of thing. I realise you can't fill up the rule book with that, but at least you could have, I don't know, footnotes or something like that. Just a personal preference, just saying. Let's see. So we went through all that lot. Let's see. Had to draw 4 low morale cards and resolve 3. That was very punishing. And did the surrender check. Right. Yeah, patrols. 3 new patrols came on. 2 of them there, like I said, which isn't helping our cause. And then we advanced the turn marker. Right. And yes. So there we go. The one thing I will say is that one thing you have to have, of course, is you have to have, like, we're at that level there now, surrender, and it's got a 6 over there. That means that we have to have 6 healthy defenders. Otherwise, we lose the game straight away. And we have got, let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, well, I guess that means we're 5. If we lost 5 of them, we'd have 5, which would be less than that. So, it seems like a decent sort of a buffer. Famous last words. Anyway, we'll press on. Let's go to turn 10, which is also day 10. Well, here we are. Day 10 is underway, and we've done we've just concluded the event phase, and we're about to get to the morning phase, and I've done some analysis, and it's not looking good at all. We can't remember where things were, but I'm sure things have stacked up here. We had the infantry attack here, of course, from the enemy, and we've had the incoming artillery and air power. So the chap that was on the end there has ended up over here. There's now no one here. Let's see. The event card was pretty grim. First thing it did was knock 3 points off the morale, so we're down here. It got knocked further down than that, lose one defender. I think that happened twice, so 2 new defenders ended up in there. And the problem that we have right now is that when it comes to the surrender phase, which is towards the end of the day, if you've got 4 or more defenders in the waiting area here, we automatically lose. Okay, so something has to be done. So there are, you'd have to get 2 of them out of there, so you'd have to have 2 available beds. This is who we've got available to go in there, roll up their sleeves and help. So even if we put everybody in there, we would have, 2 medics and 4 there. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. We would have sort of 8 healing points, as it were, to apply to these to try to clear 2 beds. So as I understand it, the recovery, move all patients in the bed 1 level up, happens regardless of whether they've been treated by a doctor or treated by someone. So therefore, the 2 medics would be able to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then finally recovery would heal that person. Okay, so then we'd have like this one. This guy is slightly easier to heal than them. So than this guy. So you'd have to go 1, 2, 3. You'd have to spend 3 people, and then that would mean I'd have 1, and then the recovery would bump them up to there. So you'd have 2 available beds. This is the sort of thing we do each turn. That would mean there was 1 person left, 1 other defender that was left to do everything else for the whole turn. So, as an alternative, I thought that I could use the officer, because I don't want to use both soldiers. I could use the officer and a soldier to come in here and fire 1 blast at the airfield, moving the surrender marker down by 1. Again, highly abstract. What does that represent? So that would then come down to here, so that then when it got knocked up, because there were more than 4 or more people there, it would only go up to there, you see. Right. So that means that the officer and the soldier would be there. The other soldier would come in over here. And the reason he's going to come in over there is I had some sort of brilliant plan that I was going to execute. I think he's going to come home this turn. That's right. I was trying to figure out if there was a way to bring him home this turn with his supplies. And I thought I saw a way to do it. No, it doesn't appear to be the case. No. So he can just walk home. I could have fired on them twice with artillery. They would have cleared them out of the way, but I've only got 1 shot, so I can't do that. And I'm going to use that shot over here. I was thinking I could send a soldier out. Somehow I'd mixed up my messages, because I was thinking of taking them out, but that doesn't help anyone. Trying to get him home is the problem. Is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you see. And if he gets to there, you might sort of say, well, you can come home next turn. But that's not much use to anyone, because that's bringing in the supplies virtually at the end of the 11th day, which is not much help to anyone. Anyway, I just wanted to give you an idea of the sort of torture that we have to go through each day, which exercises the mind and is absolutely splendid. Yeah, as I have a feeling that this is going to be the last turn, I was going to show in a bit more detail here. So we've done the morning phase. We're getting ready to do the day phase, where we actually resolve all the actions. So let's see. We've put a soldier here, because otherwise there'd be no soldiers here, and especially bad things happen if that's the case. We don't want that. He was just spare sort of a chap at the end of everything, so we popped him in there. We've used all our supply to get everybody out. Popped him in there to be able to do a reckless defense and take 2 of those down, and then he will roll a die and see where he ends up in here. Got the officer and a soldier firing the artillery. That means the officer can't do anything about morale. Morale's a total wipeout this turn anyway. It's down here in the dumps, and it's just everything makes it get worse, including having no supply. Actually, there will be some supply there, won't there? Because it'll come in. So that's good. Okay, happy days. But no, he's needed over there. And I did look over here at the possibility of using a soldier, but that there was no way to do it productively. But then I realized that because the suspicion level is so low, we have a very good chance that he could sneak past them, you see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All he has to do is roll higher than a 1, so it's a 5-6 chance there that he'll get that, and will indeed get through. So if he gets through and he gets through, they'll be bringing in 4 supplies, which are, of course, as is usually the case, desperately needed. Then in the maintenance department, we don't have anyone available. We've just run out of people. And then in the infirmary, we are going to heal this chappy here. So 2 medics, so it'll go 1, 2, and then 3, 4. And according to me, with the, if I'm reading this right, with the recovery, they will then move up 1 more to here, and be all better. And it'll be okay having all those there, because I am going to use the artillery to fire at the airfield to move the surrender marker down by 1. And that will mean it'll be okay when it gets moved back up again, because of the fact that on the surrender table there are 4 or more defenders in the waiting area. I hope you're writing this down. Right. So let's go ahead and do it. Well, I'll give you a quick update. Things have actually started out rather well. Let's see. They took their pot shot. They got a hit. They, of course, hit the other 2 that were there. So we've cleared the red sector here, which is important for morale. So that went well. Then we fired the artillery, and we rolled for a jam, and it didn't jam. So that went well. That's automatically, you don't have to sort of roll to see if any of these happen. So that happened. So that meant that we moved the this chappy down by 1, okay, which is good. But then on the supply run, the chap that was up there, the hunter who was trying to sneak past here, successfully managed to do that. Good. So then that meant, then there was another chap that was here who came home. So we got 4 supplies out of that. Splendid. Of course, each one of those, I'd forgotten about this, pushed the morale up by 1. So morale went up on 2 occasions. So that's good. And then, of course, with the booty that they brought back with them, we got a miss tile, which we got to put into the hit bag. Again, extremely abstract concept, just mentioning it. But we also got a soldier, which is a bit more of a straightforward concept, who is now over here. Okay. So things went well there. And then we got the maintenance, nothing happening there. And then we have the infirmary. So let's sort that out. Well, this is fascinating stuff. We've managed to keep it together just by the skin of our teeth, as it were. And we're on to day 11. Let's see. As predicted, the surrender level has gone back up to surrender because of the fact that the waiting area in the infirmary, poor people, is well, now contains 7 people. So that meant that this thing went into effect. So that bumped up the surrender level by 1. We'd managed to get it down because we struck the airfield, and then it's been bounced back. Okay. And the number of defenders we have to have, healthy defenders we have to have at this point, is 6, which is right there on the chart. And we have, it doesn't in the rules, as far as I could see, it says, if it is the siege stage and you have fewer healthy defenders than the required number indicated in the surrender track, you lose the game immediately. So it says healthy defenders. So I adjudicate that if they were on the map, they would be considered as well. They're just defenders. They're in your force, as it were. Interesting thing that in the this is excellent. This player aid that I got from Board Game Geek, on here it says if you have fewer healthy defenders in the tired, rest, ready, and wall boxes which is tired, rest, ready, and wall. Okay, so that doesn't mention the maps. I mean, if you had people out here who were doing their bit, I don't have anyone out there at this particular point, but I'm just trying to clarify the rules. So I don't know. As I say, the rules don't say anything about where these people are, so let's just assume that it doesn't matter where they are. Anyway, so the complication's not there in this particular instance because I don't have anyone out there. But how many have I got? Well, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I need 6. So, as I said, by the skin of our teeth. We did get, what was it? A key point was that 2 lots of supplies came in, so that helped us with the morale. But then the morale was knocked down again by 2 because of something dark. I can't remember what that was on the morale check. That's right. Because it was a red day and we had defenders in the waiting area. That's it. Yeah. We weren't out of supplies, it turned out, because by the end of the turn, those 4 supplies had arrived. So anyway, I'm certainly not holding out any hope that we're actually going to win in any sense, but we've at least made it to the 11th day on our first outing, and I hope I haven't made too many mistakes. Pretty much everything is making sense now. We've got into everything. There's certain things that you don't get into until you're much later in the game, like the use of the artillery and the airstrikes, this sort of thing. But it all makes sense to me. In terms of areas of the rules that I just simply have not looked at all, that would be, I suppose, just snow tiles that I haven't found yet. So I don't know anything about the radio, don't know anything about the medicine cabinet. And of course, in terms of just sort of, the best way to play a game, I like to have surprises. So I haven't read about them because I haven't found them yet. But of course, that's probably not it's certainly not the most competitive way to do it. A more competitive would be that you would have read about them. And in a simulation term, that's more appropriate too, because of course we would have a radio. Let's say we would have a radio operator who would know what a radio does, and you'd have a doctor who would know what the medicine cabinet would mean to us. So if I knew more about them, that might have meant I would have been digging snow more furiously trying to find the beggars. But anyway, oh well, something to keep in mind for the next time I play the game. We're all geared up for day 11 here. And, let's do it. Well, we just got to the end of the event phase. And let's see, it's snowy weather, but we don't really care because we're not venturing out up here this time. We had to move the defensive level down here, down to 0, because the walls are falling apart, apparently, according to the event card. And also move the artillery marker 1 step to the right. That moved over there from there, so it didn't make any difference as it turned out. It's made an incremental difference, but didn't change anything in the situation. And then we had incoming fire, of course, from the Luftwaffe and the artillery. And I'm sure that got up to some sort of mischief. And of course, we had 5 German infantry appeared over here. Let's see. They did their thing. They moved forward. They opened up. Somebody did make it up to here and then charged us. There was nobody. The chap who was there had already been shot by that point, so there was nobody there. So therefore, I had to take somebody from here as a loss, who ended up over here. And let's see. I actually can't remember if that one ended up over there. Yeah, because I don't think they were injured. I think they were told to go over there. Anyway, so we got things pretty well choked up here. Now, the thing is that I now know, as far as I'm satisfied, that it's not going to go well. The game is... I haven't actually got to the point where the game is lost, but I know the game will be lost because there's no way to sufficiently clear out beds to be able to get enough of these people. Well, I mean, look at it. No, I mean, of course, it's clearly impossible. But yeah, so even if the officer and the soldier did their thing and manned the artillery and fired at that to move the surrender marker down back to honourable surrender. The problem is when it comes to evaluate the surrender phase, we're going to have 3 or more defenders in the morgue. We know that here. We're going to have 4 or more defenders. We're going to have 4 or more defenders in the waiting area here, and we are going to have 3 or more defenders in the morgue because we've got 1 there, and we're going to have they're going to move down because of relapse, because I'm not going to have anywhere to put them. 1, 2, 3, 4. He gets better. Maybe I won't have 3 or more defenders in the morgue. Maybe I'll have 2 defenders in the morgue because I will have been able to put 1 person there. Right, well, we'll see. Anyway, a lot of speculation. Let's press on. Okay. The Nazis have finally put us out of our misery and forced us into unconditional surrender. We didn't make it to the end of the 11th day. We made it to the surrender phase, but we didn't make it to the placement of the German patrols, which, wouldn't have made much difference over there. And we didn't make it to the last stand procedure, which is where we get into the last stand cards, which are over there. And I don't know what they do. Right, so there you are. I'm sure it's something awful. But no, before we get, if you reach the point where the surrender logic kicks in, where you hit that, which is the skull and crossbones there. When you reach that, you stop the game immediately because you have lost. Okay. And the main reason for that was that, well, there were these 2 items here. We had 3 or more defenders in the morgue. We certainly did at the end. We got 3. 4 or more defenders in the waiting area. We've got 6. Okay, there we are. Let's see, what else? In terms of what happened, we did fire the artillery, which then jammed, and we... let's see, so we fired that onto that thing there, which bumped that down 1 for us, but then, as I say, got knocked up 2 by that. We also drew some low morale cards, which did awful things as well, probably put more people into the infirmary. We've only got 4 healthy people anyway, so for that, even if were it not for the skull and crossbones to trigger the unconditional surrender, we would have failed anyway unless we were on surrender or on honourable surrender, because 4 is only going to pull us through if we're on the truce or German retreat level, which we've never been on, certainly. So there we go. Let's see. Anything else surprising happen? Not particularly. No, so we just gradually got ground down. And as one might one might imagine, so yes, lost. I did see on Board Game Geek that I think some people were saying, of course, somebody said you can't, in terms of the way the game is designed, you can't. It's sort of like, it's a question of how well you can surrender. If you have an honourable surrender and all this sort of thing. People were saying. What was it? Something like if you had 1 win, or what constitutes a win, I'm not sure. But if you had 1 win out of 10 games, you were, you're doing pretty good, or that's about average, or whatever. So yes, of course, it's we're all used to playing. Well, we're all familiar with the concept of playing a game where you are playing the side who is probably going to get beaten, but then it just depends on the victory conditions, and if you have done as well as perhaps or better than history, that sort of thing, then you can be considered a winner. So I think I'll sit back for a minute here and then try to sort of summarize my experience with this game. Right. First things first, it's certainly unlike any other game I've played before. One of the things that happens with solitaire games is that, in my experience, is that you're often going to be playing a game where there's nothing else in your experience that's been like it before. Yes, you could argue that this game is a lot like Mackie, which I said is a much smaller, simpler version of, well, not a version, I mean, of the same sort of concept, World War II, resistance, that sort of thing. That's the theme, sorry, that's not the mechanics of the game, but the mechanics of the game is like a much smaller, simpler version of this sort of thing. But one of the things that occurs to me about this game, interestingly enough, which is also true of, I mentioned the game I played before this, which was Don't Tread on Me, which was the White Dog Games treatment of the American War of Independence, the American Revolutionary War, depending on where you're from, is that I wouldn't dream of playing it without having a detailed turn sequence like this laid out in front of me, because it's a complex turn sequence, you know. Now you can say, well, come on, Jeff, what about Squad Leader, 40 years ago, Squad Leader, complex turn sequence. But after a while playing Squad Leader, and I am talking about Squad Leader, not Advanced Squad Leader, which I have also played, you did get a feel for the sequence of play, and I suppose the sequence of play is spelt out here on the board, but it is easy to forget. For example, I mean, you've got there are things that aren't on the board, so you've got there's a lot that's not on the board, come to think of it, in terms of, I mean, here, for example, in the notes, our player aid, resolve the infirmary actions. So there's the infirmary, okay? But it's like you treat the patients first, and then the patients in the waiting area will degrade one step, and then the patients in the beds will improve one step, and then you can fill the empty beds with patients from the waiting area. It'd be very easy to do the recovery before the relapse, for example. So you go, okay, there's somebody here. Oh, recovery. They got better. Oh, look, there's an empty bed. Right. Take this person from there, pop them over there. And only after that, you did the relapse. There's a lot of items, and it seems to me, have a sequence within the operation, the sort of the miniature operation itself. It's not sort of like, oh, I'll sort of muddle around in here and do infirmary things. It's like, no, you have to do them in a sequence. You have to treat the patients first, and then you have to do relapse, and then you have to do recovery, and then you can put somebody in an empty bed. Okay, so there we go. Say my piece. So I wouldn't dream of playing it without having, as I say, and it's been an excellent player aid, and I am certainly enjoying it all the more now that I'm getting most of the numbers filled out on the page numbers, which has been an enormous help. Let's see what else. The production itself, the quality of the components is absolutely top notch. Lovely, lovely components. Love the mat board. That sort of thing. Nice illustration on the cards. The cards are not sort of individually illustrated. Well, no, I suppose they are. The event cards, they've got their individual events on them. Okay. Yes, they are individually illustrated. I think one thing that it wouldn't add anything to the rules, but how on a lot of games you'll have in the rules it'll sort of say, so-and-so, this is a town, so-and-so, this is a village, da-da-da, this is a river. And then they might sort of say, oh, and this is like Hill 401. But notice the designation Hill 401 does nothing to the combat rules. It's just there for historical reference and flavour and colour. I would have liked this more, I think, if there were... I'm not sure how you do it on these little wooden pieces and all that sort of thing. Yeah, you might get into some problems. But no, I'd like my officer to have a name. I'd like my medics to have names, and even the soldiers and so forth. I'd like everybody to have a name. Who is it? Oh gosh, the chap who one chap who did a review of the um, Bonaparte at Marengo, I think it was, which I used to own, by Bowen Simmons, or although I think the name of the designer has changed. But he remarked, oh, excellent chap, Canadian chap who always talks about, well, we'll take a look at a wee this and a wee that. And he's a designer himself on YouTube. Anyway, sorry, can't remember his name. Gilbert Collins, is it? Maybe. He said he didn't like one of the things he didn't like about Bonaparte and Marengo was the fact that none of the pieces had any names on them. So it was just like Austrian cavalry piece, Austrian artillery piece, Austrian infantry piece, this sort of thing, and it made it feel chess-like. You were just pushing pieces around. Now, I would accept maybe, because there are so many of these chaps, that maybe you don't name those individually, okay? And then if they went away and then they came back, what does that mean? It's like, oh, this is their cousin who has the same name. Well, maybe they got injured and they came back. But I do like the idea. I do like the idea of thinking, even though it wouldn't affect the rules of the game in any way, I like the idea of sort of like, oh, and there's Sven, who's a good hunter, and off he goes again to get some supplies. Oh, now Sven's coming back, I think that would sort of spice it up a bit. It's just my 2 cents worth. Right. Also, as I say, some of the cards, it was a little difficult to determine what the card meant when you turned it over and you read the instructions, especially if it had symbols involved. And I'm absolutely satisfied that there are cards that tell you to do things that is not explained in the rule book, and it is easy to get into a bit of a muddle about, well, what exactly does that mean? And, do I remove it and put it in the reserve, or do I remove it from the game entirely and put it over there? This sort of thing. Anyway, but no, didn't have too much trouble with it. As I say, the player aid sheet was made all the difference. I had it from the very beginning, and would have been completely lost without it. I'm not a big fan of the way that the rule book is laid out. It's not a good resource for reference, as far as I'm concerned. It's a nice looking production, it's certainly attractive, and it has got a lot of illustrations in it, but the sequence in which things appear in it is, I think, highly unusual. And there we are then. So yes, I have very much enjoyed the game. I look forward to playing it again. I don't think I'm going to play it again immediately. Mainly because Santa was, generous with his sleigh load and everything. And goodness me, heaven knows I've got other games which were already here unplayed. And so I'm thinking Santa came along with, there we go, Fields of Fire Deluxe Edition. That's actually the Deluxe Edition upgrade kit. So I think I may be doing that one next. I've been waiting to play Fields of Fire for a long, long time. Difficult to get a hold of here in the UK. And it's going to take some work because, apart from the fact that the full rule book is 99 pages long, and I know you don't need to read all that to be able to play the first scenarios. So, of course, yes. But I'm going to have my work cut out because the first thing I have to do, of course, is perform the upgrade. So I've got Fields of Fire... edition number 1 or whatever it was, and that has to be upgraded, so that's going to take me some evenings probably to do, but then I look forward very much to doing that. Anyway, getting back to this game, I'm digressing a little bit here. Yes, it was a good challenge and knife edge sort of a thing, and we made it almost all the way to the end of day 11, so it wasn't a complete washout. It wasn't like unconditional surrender on day 8 or something like that. So certainly got my money's worth. Marvellous. And Let's see. Was there anything else? No, I think that just about wraps it up. Yes. Also, oh no, that's right. I was going to do a plug. Been watching a lot of good films on sort of things going on in Norway, World War II, dramatic films, and so I can recommend Narvik, which I thought was rather good. I can also recommend the 6-part, I think it is, series called Saboteurs, which is about the chaps who went to the plant that was making the heavy water. That's a really good one. 6 episodes, that one. And then there was a 3-episode one, which was what's it called? War Sailor. Also very good. And I'm sort of in the middle of that one. And then what else was there? There was the King's Choice. Yes, another good one. So I mean, why not? Right. So anyway, very plucky chaps and performing very heroically in the face of great adversity. Indeed so. So that's been the Halls of Hegra, and as usual, I say, here's to it.